Hey, what's up, guys? So this is Just Air. I'm Corporal Winters. I guess former Corporal Winters. I was with the Army Reserve for 6 years. So we're gonna go over the process of kind of how it was for me going from prior enlisted Army Reserve to the active duty Air Force. First things first, I got out, right, ETS date. I went straight to my unit, got the rest of my equipment. I was able to turn in my equipment. I scheduled that myself. You have to schedule that yourself with the people, the CS people. Turn in my equipment, get my receipt, if I had to pay any dues, etc. After this, I went back to my unit. I got transferred to the IRR. The IRR stands for the Individual Ready Reserve, okay? So they gave me my orders in person. I was scan my orders. I always keep an extra copy anyways. I have to keep one digital and one paper. So once I got my orders for IRR, I went and met with a recruiter, an Air Force recruiter, an active duty Air Force recruiter. This is very specific. You have to look him up. I went and met with him, and the first thing he told me was I got to have this DD-368 form, right? So I didn't know what that was. I reached out a bunch of resources because a lot of this process, this entire process, you're going to do by yourself. If you're prior enlisted trying to go active duty in the Air Force, you're going to do this all by yourself. It'd probably be a little bit easier if you were doing like National Guard Air Force, but same thing. So yeah, moving on. After I found the DD-368, because there was a lot of miscommunication going on, I ended up going back to my recruiter. He has the DD-368 form that I need. So we ended up both signing that form together. And then once we both signed that form, I submitted that form along with my orders to the IRR to my chain of command in the IRR. So you have to look that up on the HRC website. On I believe it's all the same for everybody. I'm assuming the Fort Knox place. But yeah, you fill out that form with their information on the top and your information. Then it gets signed by you and the recruiter. Then you submit that form along with your orders to the IRR inside of IPSA. So IPSA, once you get to IPSA, you're gonna go inside of the app. You can sign in with your CAC, or you can use the regular login if you have a login that you made. And then once you get inside there, you would submit a PAR. A PAR is a personal action request. And once you get inside, I'm not exactly too sure. I believe I requested it says IST for the reason, which is an inter-service transfer. So I put that in there. And then if you mess up, the civilians are pretty much running that part right there. So if you mess up on any form, they'll tell you what you're missing and everything. And if you guys have any questions on, your process, if you decide to take this information and use it yourself to try and get in, by all means, I'm open to questions. You can drop them in the comments. I'll try and answer them as much as I can. You can also message me. I'll include my social media so you can, contact me. Once you submit the PAR, everything's good to go. You had the forms turned in and all that. You let the recruiter know. It's important that you stay in contact with your recruiter the entire time. Like, the best thing, I'm not saying blow their phone up, but the process for a prior service enlisted, it really depends heavily on your recruiter. From what I have guessed, I got lucky considering, I mean, there was, some miscommunication here and there. Obviously, they have other recruits that they have to deal with and whatnot. But sometimes it's just unacceptable. But at the same time, I do believe that, it really just depends on your recruiter. I hate to say it, but some recruiters aren't as, they don't have enough experience with prior service, pushing them through, or they just simply, don't want to do the extra legwork that it takes. But I can't say for sure, but I respect all the recruiters and all the jobs that they're doing out there. I know it's crazy. Okay, so if everything's good, it should take about up to 20 days for you to get the signatures back. You can check every day, just to make sure you're staying on top of it or whatever, because it has to go through the chain of command in the IRR. So once that goes through, they'll send it back to you. Then you just keep that form the entire process, because you're going to need it at the end of it. Your recruiter's also going to need that as well, so you got to give him that form as well. They'll put instructions on there. They won't just leave you out to dry. And if they do, you come back to this video and we can talk about it. Once you get your DD-368 signed by your chain of command, you can give it back to your recruiter, keep a copy for yourself, obviously. At this point in the recruiting process, you should be, if you're not, I believe, if you're not doing a direct duty, which would mean you would go straight, if your job translates to the Air Force from whatever branch you are in, if it translates from that branch directly to the Air Force, you can go straight into it. Like my job, ammunition specialist, I could go straight into the Air Force as a munitions specialist. And again, it really just depends. But so like I said, direct duty, you can go straight into that job. If you're trying to retrain, this is where things get a little bit complicated, because the Air Force puts out a list, like I believe it was every quarterly. So they put out a list of jobs that, you know, they need filled. And obviously, know this, you are going to be welcomed under the specifications that the Air Force needs. So what the Air Force needs is what you should be looking at. If you want to have a smooth process and you want to, you know, try and get in as fast as you can, because my process took a little bit, I'd say about a little under 5 months to even get to where I am right now. It's been a rough road, but, you know, patience and consistency, you stay consistent and you'll be perfectly fine. Stay communicating with your recruiter. Just try to, you know, be up to date on everything. But anyways, so if you want to retrain, obviously you have to retake the ASVAB, right? So you go retake the ASVAB to qualify for such set job. I ended up trying to retrain because I wanted to do a surgical tech. So I went and retook, I got a 67 on my practice, and then when I went and took the actual ASVAB, I got a 55. So I qualified at that time. But with the Air Force, it's different. You have to pass not only the ASVAB, but you have to pass medical and MEPS as well to be able to actually be qualified for the job. So boom, right? Went took my ASVAB, got my score. Boom, done with that. Scheduled MEPS for the medical. Went, and my stuff got pushed back a little bit because of the snowstorm. Thank you, Houston. Then I went and took my medical, passed my medical, clear. Boom. I ended up qualifying for my jobs, because you make a job list, right? So after I qualified, I contacted my recruiter again. Hey, like, here's my stuff. We're good to go. And then now, I didn't know this at first, but prior service, you're making a packet. Everything that you do from the moment you start trying to get into the Air Force to the end, you're creating a packet. So this packet's going to include your ASVAB scores. It's also going to include one thing that my recruiter needed from me in the beginning. Actually, I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the video, but he needed a performance report. They're going to ask you for a performance report. The performance report, if you are Army, your performance report is your enlisted record brief or your soldier record brief. SRB, ERB, whatever they call it. I don't remember what they call it now, but it's that. Because the Air Force, it's something that updates you annually, okay, on your career. And for the Army, it was the enlisted record brief or the soldier record brief. It's the same thing, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. So your recruiter is going to submit this packet to his chain of command in simpler terms, because I forgot what they're called. But he's going to submit it to his chain of command, and they're going to go up. If they approve the packet, they'll be like, okay, cool. But in my case, my packet got sent up. I was all good to go, but they pulled the list to retrain for prior enlisted. So now I either wait until they make another list, or I go into my direct duty, because they're only approving direct duty. Because like I said before, you are at the needs of the Air Force. Okay? So this is gonna show you how bad you really want to be in the Air Force. How bad do you really want to be in the Air Force? You know, one thing I do find really cool about the Air Force is you can always retrain, right? So what I'm going to do from this point on, and I'm going to go direct duty, and I'm going to attempt to retrain, right? I say attempt because, you know, what if I like, you know, my job? What if my job's better in the Air Force than it was, you know? But my whole reason for switching from the Army to the Air Force had nothing to do with whether the Army's bad or not. I just felt like it was a better situation for me regarding the skills and my environment. I feel like I had a good experience in the Army Reserve. I will say that. I am going active duty because I felt like I preferred active duty. I originally was supposed to join the Air Force, actually, but, you know, now I'm just trying to double back on that. I served in the Army, now I want to serve in the Air Force. But either branch is fine, really. So, but yeah, if you guys have any other questions or anything, questions, concerns, whatever you want to ask me, that's how my process went. I hope that I explained it well enough to where you guys can kind of understand like how yours is going to go, because as a prior in service, you won't be priority until you get to medical. Because I know you kind of, you know what I'm saying, I hate to say it, but but it's the sad truth. Just be prepared. Make sure you have everything in order, all your documents. They can't say no to you if you are prepared. You have to be ready, man. So salute to all my fellow soldiers out there. Take care, guys.